If you all watched my older video on the original BlackWidow V4 75% when it came out, I absolutely loved it. It was hands down an amazing keyboard right out of the box. Well, Razer recently updated to the Pro version right here. Is it worth the upgrade, or are the changes worthwhile? And as far as inside your box, of course, you're going to get your keyboard. You get a nice plush magnetic wrist rest, 3 extra switches, which by the way, this keyboard comes included with the tactile switches. You get a keycap and a switch puller because yes, this board is hot swap. We're going to talk all about this later on in the video as well. You get your wireless dongle because the board's wireless, and you also get your USB-A to C cable, and then all your paperwork. Now, as far as the build and aesthetics of the board, I really like it. You got this metal top case here, then it goes to plastic on the side. You see you got RGB strips over there, which will fire up here shortly. Underneath, you got some big rubber feet all the way around. I seriously wish companies would start putting, again, rubber feet in the middle just to balance it out. I don't know, whatever. Maybe it costs that much more. You got 2 levels of pop-out feet here. Big one, small one, and you do have that stock ergonomic incline. And as you're looking on this side, you got your dial wheel, which I'll show you a lot about that, and then your selector for this little screen up here, which you're going to take a deep dive into that. And then on the back side, you can see you got your USB-C port, you got your Bluetooth mode, wired, and 2.4. Now, before we dive into the details of this board, I want to give you the sound test and talk about the switches. And as I mentioned, the switches that are included on this board are going to be the Razer orange tactile switches. They're not magnetic adjustable, just your classic 5-pin, if I can get this. Oh my gosh, how do people enjoy swapping switches and stuff? Good mercy, these things are in there tight. As you can see, they are 3-pin switches, if you can see with my light. Bam, right there. But when you look into the PCB, it is a 5-pin PCB, so you're gonna be able to use just about any switches on these. But anyways, let's go on and get the sound test. I'm actually gonna move that up there, and I'll put my microphone up here so we can get a sound test. So as far as the sound test here, and you all know to take my opinion of sound test of keyboards lightly, as I love the GMMK3, everyone hated that. I'm not a keyboardist by any means. Again, my opinion's my opinion, and my opinion of this one, it sounded very bad. I mean, just listen to this. Enter, then that shift, the space bar, and then up to the regular switches. The regular switches, your basic layout here, they feel and sound great. But coming over to all these, it's just, it's horrible. And I think why that is there's no dampening foam right on top of the PCB coming down from the switches. There's multiple layers within the board, so there's no pinging or ringing within the case by any means. But again, right on top, there's no spacebar foam or any dampening in between that gap right there. And then again, over here, going right down onto that metal plate, I think it's just a bad combo all the way around, and it just sounds cheap. All right, so now I'm gonna fire up the keyboard, and I wanna talk about this OLED screen up here and then this little dial. So anyways, firing up the keyboard right here, you can see the animation go and the RGB fire up. Of course, I leave mine on solid red. You can see what I got my screen set at is the time and the date and the volume wheel. And I'm not sure what's going on with this, because you see if I, let me go back here, which you can change to next track. Anyways, I'm pressing this little mode button on the side that I showed you earlier, and you can see you can cycle through the brightness, but I want to get back to the volume here. So you can tap it in to go mute, but you see when I move the dial, it's only going right there. It's not adjusting it. It is adjusting on my PC. I don't have any headsets connected in or anything, so I'm not sure if there's something just miscommunicating with each other. Not sure why that's adjusting. Anyways, going in here to the selector, you see you got track selector, OLED, or the OLED brightness as far as that screen. You can, of course, adjust how quick it times out as we're seeing right here, and then cycling through. Now, if you actually hold that button down, you can get into more options. Command dial, where you can actually adjust what it does with those modes that we were just selecting through. I only have it on the ones that I actually use, but you can see, you can set it to multiple other ones. Even in the Synaps, which I'll show you here shortly, you can even change that more. Coming even further to these settings, you got your home screen. Again, system info. If you want emotes, keyboard info, all sorts of stuff. The keyboard info is pretty cool one here. So if you click that, let's go on back. Oh, did I save it? Let me hold it down. I didn't press the dial in. So home screen. Let's go to keyboard info again, tab it in, there we go. Now when you come back, you can see you got your like caps lock, you got your gaming mode or whatever. I wish they would change colors. Of course, it's just black and white up there because it's kind of hard to tell if it's like lit up or off, as you see. I don't know, whatever, but cool little touch there. Gives you that battery life, which I really like. So going back to the home screen, you can see you got all sorts of other stuff. Images, animation. Let's go and fire up an animation and you can see. That's what it looks like. It kind of reminds you of like the, oh, you got different animations here. Okay. I didn't know you can actually cycle through ones right on. That's pretty cool. But it reminds you of the Apex Pro, for example, right? So going back into here, what do we got? We got our lighting, you got chroma effects, and then your brightness. So chroma effects, you can actually cycle through effects right on the keyboard here. Of course, I keep mine on just a static red. Bam, we'll save it in there, and you actually cycle through. So go in here, static, and as you're pressing this button in the static, it'll change the color of the RGB right on the board, as you see it going right here. Let me get right back to my red. We got the green right there. Red should be coming up next, right? Yep. So there we go. There's that. It's really cool that you can cycle through the colors right there. And then, of course, you have your brightness, which we are set at 55. Bam. We'll just set it at 100 so you can see that. Coming down here, you have your settings, OLED display, brightness, dial direction, and then time to home screen. As you see, you keep going out. Polling rate. So you got hyperspeed up to 4,000. You can go all the way down to 125, which of course this will affect your battery life. I leave mine at 4,000. It's been perfectly fine. And then wired. It's kind of weird that it only goes up to 1,000 on wired. What did we see? I think we saw this on the recent Asus product. I forget which. No, it was the Logitech one, right? Where it's wired, it can only go to 1,000, but wireless, it went to 4,000. Same thing here. Not sure why it's like that. Now, I will tell you the one thing I do wish this screen had or was different, and I think this would just be a cool little innovation into like, maybe if you press down on it and it kind of sprung out, does that make sense? And you kind of adjust the level of it. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, kind of like something in a car. You press it down and it kind of comes out. Or maybe if it was just angled, because I don't use the pop-out feet when I'm gaming. It's just sitting there. I use the stock ergonomic, and I kind of got to go up and over to see the screen, right? I wish it was in my face a little bit. So I wish it was angled upwards and kind of up over those keycaps. Or you can kind of press it down and it kind of sprung out and you can adjust the angle yourself. That would be really cool. And Razer, you know I only charged you 5% for my ideas before, but I think this one will be real beneficial. So I'm going to go like maybe 7.3% for that idea per unit sold. So now let's go and take a look at the new Razer Synaps. As you've seen up here, this is the Synaps beta, so it's laid out a little bit different. It actually works a little bit different, which I'll talk about as we're going through. But anyways, you can see over here, which you can actually customize the screen. I'm going to show you here in a second. You got dashboard, game room, device modules, global shortcuts, right? So anyway, let's get into the keyboard here. You got your basic standard customization as far as all your keys, your game mode, what that does, right? You got Snap Tap on this, which Razer actually has on their laptops now and everything too, which you can enable, disable, add. I didn't know you could add another key on these. Okay, cool. So you can actually add other keys. That must be something new. I really like that since it's not just A and D right there. Your polling rate, again, up to 4,000 over here. But most importantly, your command dial, as I was showing you, customizing, where you can enable or disable. These are the ones that are preset. And again, you can just turn it on or turn it off, as you can also do right on the keyboard, as I showed you as well. But then Synaps modes, when you come down here and add a custom one, go over here. You got, again, your press in, your roll, and your roll. And you come in here and just activate what you want. A mouse function, device brightness, multimedia, and then again, select what you want right there. I think everything that it has on right now is pretty much all I would personally really use. Just nice, easy, quick, simple shortcuts. So I honestly really like that. It's just simple and usable. I just wish it angled up a bit. Coming over here, you have your lighting, same as we've always known. Again, chroma and stuff, your basic, static effects and whatnot, brightness. The OLED, this is over here, as you can turn it off if you want to save some battery life, turn the brightness down, whatever you want, some, audio, your little tracker right there. You can come over here and again, customize. So on mine, I got one slider. If not, it'll cycle through these. And you can come on here and actually add stuff if you want your GPU, CPU, temp. Just really cool stuff. Again, the keyboard battery I really love. So I wish it was 3. Like I could have time, date, and battery. Man, I would be set. That's exactly what I would need. But if I come over here and just add battery, well, it's going to start cycling through 1 and 2, which just annoys me. I kind of just like 1 up so it's not constantly cycling. I don't know. That's just my personal preference, but you got so many options to choose from here. I would just really love to have time, date, and battery would be stinking awesome. So anyways, really cool. All the customization you can do, again, with that screen or that dial there. And then here is the brightness. As you were looking at it before, we only had it at 55% actually, and it was absolutely incredibly easy to read. Again, time on home screen, as I told you, whenever it dims out or it cuts off right there. Screen timeout options if you want just a screensaver or to go black, your pick right there. And then you have power as far as dim lighting, low battery warning. This is one I always like that they do on their mice, so I can get I don't need that battery indicator. That's why I'm fine with it not being on the screen, right? Not really being a big issue to me, because it does show over here on the dongle, just like with their mice. So I leave mine right on battery status, and it'll let me know, again, whether it's red, yellow, or green, pending battery left over. Wireless power saving and activate power saving mode. So as far as the new, and then over here, of course, you got, this is what I wanted to show you real quick in Synaps. So let me show you this recommendation. So anyways, this is other than the keyboard, right? But I want to show you this because I really like this. A lot of the softwares I've seen, whether it be SteelSeries, all these companies, they're trying to shove stuff in our face with their new software products and such, right? But coming over here to settings, you can put recommendations and then actually show you other stuff like show new products. So right out of the gate, all this stuff's going to be selected, right? So now coming up here to Synaps Beta, you got headsets, mice, mouse pads, yada yada, all sorts of shenanigans, you know what I mean? Me personally, I don't like any of that stuff. I want to get in here, adjust my product, and that is really it, you know? So it's really cool that you can adjust Synaps to what you want. So it's not a big advertisement in your face all the time. The same with notifications and stuff. So the Synaps is just in beta mode right now, but just letting you know, it's simple, it's easy, and all the updates for your products now, as far as firmware and stuff like that, it's going to take place on it. You're not going to have to restart Synaps and all that stuff. It's going to actually update right on it. So I like what they're doing here. But anyways, let's get back to the keyboard. And talking about using a keyboard, my primary time was used wireless at that 4,000 polling rate, and it was absolutely flawless. Even using a wireless mouse and a headset, mouse running at 4,000 as well. Absolutely flawless, no hiccups, no delays, no lags, no nothing like that. I don't play FPS, as y'all know right now. Really, Wayfinder and First Descendants are my games. I will tell you the one thing that is not really part of the performance, but I hate tactile switches. I'm a linear. I don't like clicky, or I don't like that bump in there. I like a nice, smooth, linear switch. So me personally, I am not a fan of these switches at all. It's got that weird, I don't know, you know, the tactile bump. It's not my jive, you know what I mean? Of course, that's personal preference. But talking about that in line with, say, the snap tap, it's really hard to notice that even more. Like, you got to be pretty snappy to notice snap tap. And I can notice it, even though I don't play many FPS, I can notice it sometimes. But with these tactile switches, it's almost like pointless. I personally can't really utilize that or notice that because of that bump in there. Just feels a little bit lower. So at the core performance, it was absolutely flawless. My personal complaint here is, again, I just do not like tactile switches. Now that we had a good look over the new Razer BlackWidow V4 PRO 75% keyboard, I want to refer back to the question I asked at the beginning of this video, talking about, are the upgrades worthwhile? Should you upgrade, or is the Pro version justifiable here? And I will tell you what this keyboard's packing. I really like it from the build and everything. The sound, I mean, I can't stress it enough. I personally think it sounds like doo-doo. My preference of keyboard sounds never lines up to the community space out there, so take that with a grain of salt. But look, I just don't like the way it sounds, and I wish it came in linear switches, for crying out loud. But it is hot swap. The screen, right? The screen, a lot of us may be thinking gimmicky. I really like that. I love it on the Apex Pro as well. I think it's very versatile. Again, I just wish it was implemented a little bit better as far as the build. Angled up, again, that's 7.2 or 7.3%. I forget. We'll work out the contracts per unit whenever you do that. I'll tell you what, if we can get that screen in the Huntsman V3 Pro, or I guess that would be V4 Pro by then. If we can get that screen into this, where we can adjust our actuation, our rapid trigger and everything, that would be super awesome. And that one, I'm only gonna charge you 3% per unit sold. So I'm gonna cut you a break on that one. We'll round it out, maybe a total of 10% commission per each unit sold for my ideas. But I love what it's packing, but I honestly don't think it justifies the Pro price tag of 300 bucks. I think that is a bit steep, and I think at 300 bucks, this thing better be darn perfect. That screen better be angled, and that sound, it shouldn't sound like that. I think there should be foam right on the PCB slapping down from those stabs or whatever. I don't know. I just think there should be a little bit of extra tuning in there, and that's coming from someone that is not a keyboard snob. That's what it sounds like to me, and the $300 price tag, I think, is a bit steep.